Hey everyone, welcome to the FilmIn5D Podcast, episode 7 of the FilmIn5D Podcast. Colton's acting strangely. What's going on?
I'm excited.
Oh, the viewers listening in their car rides can definitely hear you. Let's get right into it. We're going to talk about Mad Max, because that came out 2 weeks ago. I saw it. You're seeing it today.
Yeah.
You're excited for that?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about also Tomorrowland. San Andreas is coming out today. Tomorrowland came out last week. We're shooting this on a Friday, releasing it on Monday. We're talking about news and rumors with the a7r again. We're going to talk about RGBW, and we're also going to talk about what the A7S must have for me to buy it. An A7S II, considering I already have the original. Then we're going to talk about lines in photography, which I know you're going to be interested in because we talked about it last time, and I could tell you didn't really understand it fully. So we're going to get more into depth about what it means when there's like clashing lines and like points of focus and stuff like that. And then you're going to talk about Kickstarter / tugs.
Yeah. I think it's just Tug.
Okay. So it's like an alternative to Kickstarter then?
Oh, have you not heard of Tug?
We'll get to it. And then for the final part, which is probably going to be the majority, the last half of the show, we're going to talk about what makes a great action star. And we're going to even give our top 5. And I'm going to start off with a quote.
Okay.
Because it's going to be related. The quote for the week. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning.
Dude, isn't that like some Fast and the Furious movie?
Another Vin Diesel quote. He's got the best.
This guy.
Those action stars, man, they got to have those nice quotes. Those nice solid quotes that are... You walk out of the theater and you remember that quote.
I guess so.
We can argue about that later. All right, first segment, Rotten Tomatoes. What came out this week?
Tomorrowland.
No.
San Andreas.
Are you even looking at... Do you even iPad right now?
Yeah. Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrowland came out last week.
Okay, I'm confused.
Got a 49%. It did win the box office barely. It's got obviously George Clooney in it.
I thought it was Disney though. Like, how is it feeling?
I don't know. I mean, from what I heard, it was a pretty decently made movie. It's got Brad Bird directing it. I'm pretty sure he directed The Incredibles. I'm trying to think of what else he's directed.
Dude, they're making Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's making it. Yeah, so The Incredibles is his highest rated movie, 97%. So that's Brad Bird. So he's a pretty good director, so people had high expectations from Tomorrowland. But from what I'm hearing, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, is basically you have, like, think of a movie as a clock.
Yeah.
Like you go to 2 o'clock and you have the first act, and then you get to 6 o'clock, and then, you know, it kind of all matches up, and you have your your 3 acts and all that stuff. Basically, the first act, which is supposed to be like the build-up part, tells you what the plot's going to be, not so much character development, but just throws you in there, whatever. Yeah. Apparently, that lasts half the movie. So it's kind of like a very slow-building movie, and all of a sudden, the last half is just the other 2 parts, which is like a little unusual. So that's kind of what I heard. I haven't seen it yet. Honestly, I was always going to wait until DVD messes me. I'm a little sick, guys, just so you know, if I sound funny. Yeah. Okay. And then San Andreas came out this week, starring The Rock. And since we're talking about action stars later, we can get into that more. But San Andreas is one of those movies where, for me, I knew it was going to have faults, but it is an action movie. It's kind of a ridiculous, like, world-ending plot, but it's got The Rock. Like, I'm gonna rent it on Blu-ray and see it. Like, I'm not gonna go to the movies and see it because I knew it was gonna get. I mean, 49% is probably better than I thought it was gonna get. To be honest, like that's just because The Rock, as much as people want to hate on him, is actually a really good actor. Like, he's really good and a very good action star. And can he carry a movie? I'm not so sure. I think he's more of the best, like, supporting guy who can come in and be himself. But when he's trying to carry a role, it's a little. I'd have to see. I'm not going to judge. I mean, he's definitely been in movies where he was the main character, and it was a good movie. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Just looking at the poster, it looks kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a little bit out there in terms of like ideas for movies. But obviously, he's been good in the Furious 7 movies and stuff. I'm trying to remember the movie I saw of him where he was Faster. It didn't get a good review, 43%, but I thought this was a decent movie starring him.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. All right. So very quickly, we talked about Mad Max last episode. I've seen it. You're seeing it today. Yes. It lost to Pitch Perfect 2, which I predicted. In terms of Pitch Perfect 2 wasn't certified fresh, but it did win almost double the amount of money. I think Mad Max made 40, and then Pitch Perfect made like 70. Any thoughts on that? We saw it coming. You didn't believe me. You thought it was crazy, but
I don't know. That's sad. Like I thought there was like a good Mad Max cult out there, you know?
Mm-hmm. That it? That's all you gotta say. It's a radar movie. I mean, it's competing against a PG-13 movie, a sequel. Sequels all usually do pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but still, like, I didn't know Pitch Perfect was that popular.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't, like, break records or anything, but it, was, in my opinion, like, definitely going to beat it the whole time. I had a picture. I can't really pull it up right now on my Mac, but I basically saying Pitch Perfect 68%. I had it at 70 mil at the end of the weekend, and then Mad Max was 98% and 44.4 mil, barely nudging out Avengers, which was already out for 2 weeks at that point, with 38.8 mil. So it did get second, and it made 44 mil. So they've already announced, like, I know basically they kind of hired Tom Hardy to do a trilogy, but they've officially announced that they're making a second one, which is cool. So after you see it tonight, you'll see like how they're going to do a second one and stuff and make it into a new thing for Tom Hardy to do.
Yeah, I heard it was like I read a comment by somebody on the internet, and they're saying that Mad Max, and I forgot what other movie, but they're kind of an interesting departure to like regular action movies, because they're saying essentially Mad Max is almost like one whole long car chase scene.
Well, it's interesting because like action movie. Have you ever seen Expendables?
No.
You know what it's about though, right? With the
old
old action stars. So that movie's like the first one was good in a campy kind of way, where it was like, it wasn't a good movie, but it was still enjoyable to watch. But in that movie, it was just so painful to watch the moments of character development, or basically like, okay, we have this random character who's not as popular as the other ones. Let's give him a minute to tell his story and be super sentimental and like tell him why he does it. And it's just like super in your face, like we're retarded, which most people who see that movie probably are. But like it's super in your face. Whereas Mad Max, like the character development is just all throughout, and it's super subtle, and there's like little things you get, and it's like Rosebud, it's like things like that where most people don't really get it so much, but very effective and very cool. So that's what I liked about it for an action movie. It didn't have to take a break from the action to get the character development in. It is like it did have like not all fast full throttle the whole time, but it doesn't slow down at any point essentially.
Yeah, I think that's what the person was saying. Like their ability to keep that pace while still building the plot and all that kind of stuff was really entertaining.
It was like I always talk about pacing. That's why I like Edge of Tomorrow so much, even though you didn't like it, I guess. But
dude. I think you're overrated, dude.
No, dude, that movie had great pacing for a movie. We're not gonna argue about it, but for a movie that was about the same thing for the first act was about the same thing over and over again. It was entertaining and interesting the whole time.
Yeah.
It's called good pacing.
Yeah.
Moving on. News and rumors. We got some news and rumors from Sony Alpha Rumors this week. Nothing coming out from Roll Canyon really, though I didn't really check. Let's be honest. So A7R2, we've been talking about this a lot. Looks like you're right. It's going to be the 36 megapixel.
Ooh.
Do you want to tell the people the good news about what else it's going to have for those of you who don't already own an A7R and are looking to get the new one and waiting?
Well, it's going to have faster autofocus.
That's a year newer technologies, sure, yeah.
And it's also going to have an electronic first curtain shutter, which apparently the first one didn't.
I feel like my camera has that, though. I feel like all the mirrorless cameras have to have that.
No, I think I read somewhere else, like somebody was saying, like, they pretty much all do except for the A7R, whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's because I think basically what that means is you can turn it to a silent mode where there's like an electronic shutter, so it doesn't have to actually physically do it. So because I've used the A7S and the A7 and they both have silent mode, so I kind of figured the A7R did as well, but I guess it didn't, so that's what it has. That's cool. What else? What else does it have? There's one big thing that we talked about last episode that I didn't think it would have, or that the rumor said that it wouldn't have, but it does, and gives me good hope for the next topic.
Yeah, it's gonna have in-body stabilization.
IBIS, in-body image stabilization.
Yeah.
Which is that kind of, souped up sensor on, whatever.
Like a Jurassic Park ride, just.
Yes. On a suspension, I guess.
Yeah.
Which you said your concern with might wear out over time.
Yeah, I feel like obviously if you have a moving part, like isn't it gonna wear down a little bit, and then like the stabilization quality is gonna degrade, right? Like,
maybe it doesn't move as much as you think it moves. Maybe it's like not that bad. I don't know. You could be right. I don't know. It's a concern definitely because all these cameras it doesn't have a mirror anymore. So the whole point is it's kind of all solid state basically now, and now they're going to add something that moves, and it's kind of like, yeah, you never know. All right, moving on. What the heck is RGBW?
RGB plus white.
Red, green, blue, white. So what does that affect? And what is this for? Why are we even talking about RGBW?
Because apparently Sony made a new...
So they make the iPhone cameras, if you didn't know. Like the iPhone, I don't care what anybody says, I still think that they make the best camera phones. Okay, you can talk about screen and whatever else, but the actual camera quality, people have made feature films with the iPhone 4S, and that was 3 years ago. The cameras are so much better now. So what is this going to help with these smaller cameras and camera phones, specifically the iPhone, because that's what Sony makes?
Low light performance.
But why? We're looking at an image right here. They're talking about lux.
Yeah, from what I understand is by adding the white sensor, it makes it more sensitive, so it's able to pick up more data from the light. But normally when you have an RGBW sensor, it's a little bit bigger. Like you trade off the sensitivity and you can't really fit that many pixels within the sensor. But apparently what Sony is saying with their new technology, they're able to shrink down the pixels.
So higher resolution while having more sensitive.
Yeah, so they're able to fit it within the, reasonable size within the phone camera. Mm-hmm. And so they're still able to maintain, the 12 megapixel camera while having this RGBW light sensitive sensor.
Yeah. That's the big thing about iPhones is, for me, I don't really use them for pictures that much, especially in low light because the quality is so bad in low light. Though they do have the nice little white and orange flash that kind of matches the color of the room, so it's not like you're super white and the background's super orange. That's cool. I'm sure a lot of the new cameras have that, or maybe not. I don't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. They have the best camera phones. But so that's the only time I'll use a flash. Obviously, the A7S doesn't have flash, doesn't need one. So yeah. All right. So that's cool. Moving on. I'm going to talk about what does the A7S II absolutely need to have for me to buy one. Obviously, I already have one. I've invested quite a lot in my camera over the last year. It came out in June. It's almost been a year. The end of June. What does the A7S II, when it comes out, probably in September or whatever, what does it absolutely need to have, or I'm waiting until the next one? Number one, it must have IBIS, which, given the fact that the other two alpha cameras are having it, I'm assuming this will have it. It's probably also going to have the better body with the better grip or whatever. That's all cool. Sound check. It needs to have internal 4K. Now this is the stretchy part. I think it's going to have all these other things, but it's not going to have internal 4K. And if it doesn't, then there's no point because I only have one Shogun. So if I'm going to get another camera, I want two 4K cameras. I don't want one, that's whatever. So that's going to be the tough part. Full frame, 4K internal. I know the GH4 does it, but guess what? The GH4 sensor is a fourth the size. That's 4 times as much information it's trying to pull in, light, data, colors, all this stuff, and process. in a camera body that's even smaller than a GH4, like it's going to be pretty hard to pull off. But, we'll see what happens. And it needs to be high megapixel if possible. Because right now it's 12, which is okay. I mean, obviously it's not nearly comparable to some of these other ones, like 36. We're talking about 50 with the Canon, whatever they're called, 5DS. And then you got the new Sony one that's going to be like 59. We don't even know what that one is. But the reason that the whole reason the A7S is 12 is so that there's no aliasing. Every pixel is used for video. It doesn't have to downsample to get to a video. So unlikely that they'll come out with some new technology basically that kind of removes all of that without putting a filter over it or anything. Basically just turns off half the pixels that you don't need while you're recording video or whatever. Probably not going to be able to do that, but that'd be nice. And then everything else I want with my camera should definitely be fixed with the firmware. We're talking about menu things, adding new custom buttons. I did a video about the custom buttons the other week. Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, but I mean, there's some buttons like that. Like I'd like to have a custom button to turn on silent shooting. Like the only reason I said in the video, the only reason I really ever go to the menu is to change silent shooting on. It'd be nice just to have a custom button that I can program that I'm not currently using to do that, because that way whenever I need to shoot silent real quick, bam, done. So that should be done with firmware. They haven't really been coming out with too many firmwares to support this camera, but there's not that much wrong with it other than that kind of thing. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about lines in photography, videography. We talked about this last time. This is commonly used. You don't always notice it. And the overall theme of this tutorial, if you will, is that the whole reason for lines and rules of thirds and 180-degree rules is so that you don't notice it. It's kind of like editing. You only notice editing when it's bad. Like you only really like kind of sticks out when it's bad and jarring. Sometimes like a horror movie or whatever, you want stuff to be jarring. You want the rule of thirds to be broken, the 180-degree rule to be broken to kind of jar you or make you feel kind of awkward. But as you're watching a movie, your eyes don't want to see stuff that doesn't look nice or makes it hard to focus on. You want to have something that makes sense to your eyes to direct to, because guess what? Our eyes are spaced apart. We don't have one eye. So we need to see things. I'll pull up an image right now. We need to see thirds. See, right here, nice little balance. And here's the lines we're talking about, where the lines are kind of the characters walking down the hallway, and the lines are guiding him that way, and that's what makes the most sense to our eyes and our brain. And obviously he's on a third, there's balance and stuff like that. We got the wall right there and stuff like that. All these pictures, I actually found this on Imgur. This is all from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, that's the one with Stiller, right?
Yeah. I almost used it for last week when we did our most underrated movies, because this one got like a 50% or something, and I thought it was really good. I've seen it a couple times. I don't know that I would use this kind of stuff to like judge it, but this guy did. Here's another line with the bridge and how it's always walking, like it's just natural things. And then obviously it doesn't always have to do with people. You can have the rule of thirds applied to buildings, building, person, So this is the example that I was talking about last time when I was talking about, this is obviously an over the head shot of like a long shot of people walking, getting up an elevator. But you see, so you got the waves right here, and you got how it's all balanced out. Then you got a square right here, and like there's an angle right here where half of it's in the shade and half of it isn't. So if we're talking about lines in terms of composition, that's what we're talking about. What does it mean? It's all subjective, but it's a little, to me, it's a little bit chaotic stuff. You got contrast, a lot of contrast in just one frame. Here, another rule of thirds, pretty common. Rule of thirds, I mean, literally spelt out for you. Yeah. Rule of thirds, rule of thirds, you could be on the bottom third, but it's all, and then see how the skyline is exactly the same opposite of where the people are. Like this is all done on purpose. Like they have this on their screens as they're recording this, and they know. So that's the rule of thirds in a nutshell. it's got to be appealing to the eye. It's all about balance. You want it to be appealing. You want it to make sense. It's all about balance and appealing. You want it to make sense. And if you are breaking these rules, then you're trying to make people feel uncomfortable, which you don't really want to do unless it's a motivated. That's why people, when I went to school, they're like, oh, 180-degree rule is a rule. It's meant to be broken. It's like, well, you got to know the rule before you can break it, and you should only break it when it's motivated. It's just like a camera. Like, have we talked about motivated camera movement yet?
No. The
camera should never move. Like it should never pan down unless it's motivated by something like me grabbing this pencil on the table.
Where's the pan?
But you know what I'm saying? Like the camera shouldn't pan down to the pencil and then me go. It should all be motivated by like me seeing the pencil. I see the pencil, then it pans down to the pencil, and then I grab it. That's called motivated,
Or if you just like punched into the pencil really quick, then you grabbed it and then it...
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, oh, come on.
We're not talking about motivation right now, but we're just talking about... So 180-degree rule specifically is we know what that is. Keeps continuity.
Yeah.
Makes it all make sense. We did a tutorial on this some time ago. So here's an illustration of it, which I think is pretty nice. I remember when we did the Godfather sketch, people kept saying that we broke the 180-degree rule. And I was like, no, we didn't. The shot was literally... So this is you. Let me use my mouse. This is you, and this is me. As it pulled back, and it switched to the other side, and it was just me, and you're still over here, but you're out of frame, right? Sorry, right here. So this is me, and this is you. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't you just point to the opposite? Those two boxes are opposite of each other. That's across the 180-degree line, right? Look at.
Okay, but see, here's my thing about the rule. You're right, but this is my line. This is their line that they have, right? But this is the line that I created, and we never went over that line. The line wasn't flat and it wasn't perpendicular, but it cuts to a different angle. And guess what, guys? When people were criticizing me, you're also criticizing The Godfather, which is possibly the greatest movie ever made. They literally did the same shot. We tried to match it shot for shot, and they did that same thing. So I don't care if we were breaking the rule or not, because they did it and we were trying to emulate it. So done. Mic drop. And here's another nice example from The King's Speech, which is a great movie. Won the Academy Award for Best Actor and movie, I believe. Or was that... That might have been Hurt Locker that year. I don't remember. No, it won Best Picture. Nice rule of thirds right there. See, you can imagine this is a third right there.
Yeah.
And it's all about matching up the eye line. Sorry, I should use my mouse to do this.
Yeah.
Right there. So, cool stuff. All right, done with the tutorial. Go.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about taking movies from the script to the screen, but using alternative methods of funding and stuff.
Like Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Indiegogo.
Yeah. And so I think it's interesting.
Go ahead.
Because, I feel like a lot of people would agree, or maybe they kind of feel like certain movies might be motivated by, or they might be, the direction is dictated by how much money they can make.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Kickstarter and things like that, alternative methods, kind of gives filmmakers a way to create movies that might not be normally created.
South Park did an episode on this. And there's a lot of anti kind of Kickstarter going around. Because you know how many... we were a part of a show, a soccer show that got funded, we shot to completion and never got completed or released. And people funded it. It got $2,000, which isn't a lot, but people were promised certain things.
Yeah. And
that show never came out. They released one episode and that was it. It was supposed to be on Fox Sports West. The pilot got released and is they did an Indiegogo campaign. I haven't talked to the producer. I have no idea what happened, but so that's kind of where I stand. It's there's no obligation to finish it.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to give people money to make a great game like Star Citizen, but I'm not going to. There's no way I'm going to. There's people who've been giving them $5,000 just to get a special, spaceship that's limited edition that will probably get released for everybody else, 6 months after the game release. And that game may never be completely finished, even though it's raised the most money of any campaign ever, like $70 million.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that is true. That is a pitfall because basically, people are funding it. But I do think, when it does work out, interesting things are created. Like, for instance, Kung Fury.
We got moved up. Actually, I can't pull that up right now because QuickTime is saving a file. It just crashed. Let me try. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so I saw this randomly on the internet.
Should we watch the trailer?
Yeah, why not? Kung Fury.
Actually, I don't think we can watch the trailer.
Oh. Well, that's okay. But anyways, I just saw it randomly on the internet.
Let's watch the trailer.
Oh, fine, go.
So this is I'm gonna warn you guys. This is a super campy movie. I think this sound's gonna come out of here.
Hey.
Super campy kung fu movie.
I'll get your permit right here.
Pretty low budget, seems like.
Yeah, but the way it was made, I thought it was very clever.
I didn't watch the movie. It was 30 minutes long. You've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, like,
It looks like Sharknado.
but it's way better, dude. Like, yeah, it is kind of like low budget, right?
I don't want
to talk over this.
I've just been at City Hall.
You talk over it, dude.
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, it is like low budget. It's obvious, and they use a lot of CGI kind of stuff to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they kind of used, the way they used filters and stuff on it, and the way they were trying to emulate kind of like an old VHS, it all kind of really blends together. Like even the actors, they look kind of fake in some scenes.
So I'm gonna pause this because I have a great example of that. I'm gonna go ahead. We don't need to watch the whole trailer. They ride a dinosaur at the end of the trailer.
Yes.
A T-Rex. And Hitler kills somebody through a telephone.
Yeah.
So
favorite part.
That's all you need to know. I'm gonna pull up on Rotten Tomatoes a movie that I instantly thought about when you said that. I'm pretty sure you've seen this. If you're not, you're a travesty.
Oh yeah, I've seen it, of course.
Cillian Murphy.
Yep.
87%. Probably one of the best zombie movies ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, Zombieland, I think, is close tie.
And we're talking about 28 days later.
28 days later. So why do I say this movie? We were talking about production value and like how it kind of made it feel a certain way. So this movie had extreme budgetary concerns. It did not have a high budget. They shot it, I believe, on a 16 millimeter. Not 16 millimeter. It was shot on a very low-end camera, maybe like a $2,000 camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, a feature film that is well known and probably made millions and millions of dollars was shot on like a $1,500, $2,000 camera. I need to pull up the tech specs on this, but so it made 50 or 45 million in the box office, and guess what? They got a sequel, so they got even more money. But it kind of made it. It didn't. So that's people always worry about quality and all this stuff, but sometimes if you don't really have the best gear and stuff, just do what you said and like make a kind of campy movie and then add filters on it to make it look like crap, like it was meant to be that way, and that way people don't know that you were working with limited stuff. Because I'm sure Kung Fury didn't actually shoot with really, really high end stuff. I mean, the lighting and stuff does not look like they were doing. That's not just a filter making it look bad. That just means that they had low end lighting capabilities, and they shot it really quick. So
Yeah, but I mean, the way the effects and everything were incorporated into that, I thought it was great. It really meshed well together. It was pretty funny. It's cool. It's out on YouTube. It's about 30 minutes. You can just look it up and watch it for free.
Whoa. We don't have sponsors on this show. You can't just tell people to go watch that.
Well, okay. I'm not telling you to go
watch Mad Max. If you haven't seen Mad Max, go watch it. Tom Hardy called me earlier today reminding you guys to tell you again. I promised I would.
But Yeah, it was interesting because, I watched it and I enjoyed it, and then I looked at the information, and it was funded by Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
So, if nobody had Kickstarted it, it wouldn't exist. And I think it's a good example of what's possible with Kickstarter. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And also, just on the side of Kickstarter, I also want to talk about Tug, which is something kind of interesting I just randomly came across. And you have something to say?
So, I'm looking right here.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually it was shot on video. It was also shot on 8mm and 35mm.
28 days later.
Yes. Okay, that's the camera. Canon XL1S, which I don't need to look it up, but it's got EC and EJ prime lenses, which guess what, guys? Those are not cinema lenses. When they're not using full-on professional, $100,000 kit. They're using basically under $5,000, worth of camera stuff. Which is pretty impressive considering that the budget was only $8 million for a zombie movie that made $50 million in the box office and obviously had a sequel that made even more. So that's just a good point of, not always worrying about the camera quality and kind of running with it and meshing it and blending it together and making a theme out of it. Obviously zombies, kind of gritty, you can kind of have that kind of look and people won't really care. So
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about Tugs.
Yes, it's Tug, no S.
Mm.
And it's not relatively new. Like, I think it started at least in 2013 or something like that. But when I actually came across it, I was surprised that I'd never heard of it before because it was a really interesting idea. Essentially what it is you can say, say if you made a movie, you're like, I want my movie to be shown in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically give the information to Tug, and then you say, okay, Tug, I want to try and put my movie in this movie theater. And they go, okay, this is the amount of people that need to buy a ticket to that movie. And if you can get enough people to pledge to say that they'll buy a ticket, then they'll take care of the logistics, get the movie in a theater, and then people can go watch it.
At any theater, or just these certain theaters that do this kind of independent?
I'm sure it's not at any theater, but they say they take care of all the logistics, so I'm not sure how powerful they are, as in what theater.
I've never seen it at the Edwards, near where we live. It's
Yeah.
a pretty big high-end theater, so. But I could definitely see that working at. That's a good distribution. Distribution used to be such a hard thing. That used to be the most hardest part about once you finish the film. How do you get people to see it? And if you have this, and you can create buzz and even get people Kickstarter and buy people tickets, so the tickets are free. You give them out for free. People come see your movie.
Yeah, I think
basically at that point, all you have to do is make a movie that doesn't suck.
Yeah, it's great because you go on Tug, you can just see all these crazy movies people are making, then they're using Tug to put it into theaters. It's a great idea. I thought it was cool.
I don't know if you remember. You obviously remember, but we did 2 episodes about pre-production on Charlie, which was the zombie movie I was going to make, and I don't want to say I was disheartened, but I wrote that script in October of 2012, and by February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2013, a movie came out. It was starring the guy who's in X-Men, who I think was dating Jennifer Lawrence for a while. He was just in Mad Max. You'll see him in that movie. Yeah. That guy, I forget his name, was in a movie about a zombie who was the main character. And he kind of, all the dialogue was through, voiceover. Not quite the same as mine, but it definitely disheartened me, and I wasn't super, because I was going to do a Kickstarter for that movie. I only wanted $1,000, but I was like, well, we got enough fans, we can do a Kickstarter and get $1,000 and have some good makeup for our zombies and stuff like that. So I never did it, but since then I've kind of changed my opinion on Kickstarter. I'm not so sure I like it, because had we got funded and not made that movie, we're not liable, other than we take a credibility at it,
Yeah, but yeah, Tug is a little bit different than Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Tug is you already create the movie, you're trying to get people to see it.
That kind of is inspired me. I'm working on a feature film script right now, so. Yeah,
I thought I saw this, and this is freaking cool. I really like this, so I think more people should know about this. I didn't know about it.
What's the website?
Tug, Tugg.
Oh, double G.
Yep, double G.
Pull it up so everybody can see it on screen. So that's a nice, because man, I've known independent filmmakers who've gone through the process of trying to distribute and people going to LA and trying to get people to watch a movie. There's people in LA who literally go to the theaters. My uncle sees a movie every week. He goes to the low end independent theaters, and he'd probably see a movie that was from Tug and wouldn't even know it. You know? 'Cause he just likes that kind of stuff. Cool.
Yep, there's that. But yeah, I think, stuff like this is cool because it lets people, get exposed, kind of have their ideas get out there. Kickstarter lets people get funds that, might not have the funds. Yeah, some people can exploit it, whatever, but there's a lot of bad stuff in the world.
Yeah, there's worse stuff. Okay. Moving on. That's the end of that part of the show. We're about halfway through. We're going to have our final discussion on action stars because obviously Mad Max's came out this week. San Andreas came out. Rock's pretty big action star. Let's start off with our top 5 favorite action stars. You don't have to give me in any order. Just give me your first one.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Yeah. He's a little bit outdated now. I don't think he's made a good action movie in quite some time. That's why he's not on my list. Spoiler alert. Mm-hmm. Just one quick word about why Bruce Willis is on your list.
I think he's cool without making me hate him. That's why I like him.
You just liked Looper.
Oh yeah, Looper was so awesome. Oh, don't even get me started on Looper. Ugh.
Okay, my first one we talked about last week. Tom Cruise. And one reason why is he does his own stunts. And he's a pretty solid actor, which we've talked about. Mm-hmm. A solid A-list, meaning he brings in the money, the cashola, which is important for an action star. And the whole point is to bring in lots of money. That's what makes you a big action star. He is the A-list of action stars. He's got to be on your list. Tell me he's on your list.
I was going to put him on my list, but dude, I just couldn't because I hate him too much personally.
Oh my gosh.
I have a personal bias.
That's fine. It's your list, so whatever.
You
can agree with me, though, that he's solid A-list actor, that he does his own stunts. Like, have you seen the trailer Mission Impossible 5 where he's hanging off the side of the jet? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I do acknowledge he's a great actor.
You just hate him because of Scientology. Let's be honest. You don't even hate him because he jumped on Oprah's couch. You don't even care about that.
No, that was funny.
All right, next one.
Tom Hardy.
I also have Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Why is he on your list?
Because
he's relatively new, though. Like, he's only been... Honestly, how many action movies has he been in? Think about it.
Batman?
Huh?
What?
Batman? Oh, yeah, so he was Bane. What else?
Yeah.
Obviously Mad Max, which you haven't seen yet, but yeah, go on. Not that many. I mean, like Inception, I wouldn't really consider that like an action role, even though he did most of the action-y things, like, shoot the gun, whatever.
Yeah.
But, in terms of being the action star, Mad Max is his first one. And honestly, when you see it, it's almost not even really about him. I mean, yeah, he's in it, but it's almost more about Charlize Theron.
Wait, is she for US though? Who's Charlize Theron?
Yeah.
She is? Oh, dude, that's so cool. That's the person with the black stuff on her face, right?
That's the best.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. I have on here that he's the best actor on my list. That's why I like him. Yeah, he's in Mad Max. Yeah, he's starting to get his break, and he was Bane and stuff. I have him as the best actor on my list.
Best.
He's the best.
Best.
So that's why I have him.
Oh, you're talking about Tom Hardy. I thought you were leading into your next thing. No. I was like, what?
All right, what's your third one?
I think you'll like this one. Vin Diesel.
I also have Vin Diesel. Why?
Well, I think first of all, his voice is like super crazy. Like, he's super cool, and like I
think he's the most quotable.
Yeah.
He has those sick quotes where he's just like, yeah, with family. It's like, this is cool. Like, he just seems like a cool dude. And then you hear him talking in real life. Hey guys, what's up? My Facebook friends. Oh my gosh, me and Paul Walker are so cool. Not to be disrespectful, but that's like literally what he sounds like. And then all of a sudden he gets in the movie. He's like, yeah. I can't even do his voice. This is so awesome. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's probably. Of my, I didn't put like a list, but he's my favorite on the list. Vin Diesel. People would hate on him because Daddy Daycare and all this stuff, but I just think he's not only the coolest like actor, the most humble, but he's just like the coolest.
Yeah.
Next, we're 2 for 2. We got Two for three that we matched up.
Dwayne Johnson.
Of course, I mean, literally his movie's coming out. He's The Rock. I used to watch him growing up, wrestling. I was cheering for him even when he was the Scorpion King. That was like his first breakout role, was just like being in the movie for 5 minutes at the beginning. And then they did a spin-off and did his own movie, which sucked, which had a bunch of CGI. But, you know, now, like, the thing about The Rock is I felt for so long, for the first probably like 7 years of his career in Hollywood, he was just picking the wrong movies. I mean, he was in like these movies with Josh Hutcherson, and like he was in this movie where he's like a football player and he has this girl, and it's like, you know, whatever. He was in The Tooth Fairy. Like, he was in the worst movies. Like, yeah, Vin Diesel's been in one or two bad movies, but The Rock was in just horrible movies the whole way. I mean, I could pull up the list. I mean, let's just quickly go through like his history. But for me, he's like what he calls the Viagra of action movies. Like, he joins Fast and Furious, all of a sudden it's cool again. I was so sick and tired of Fast and Furious by the fourth one. Also in the fifth one, all of a sudden it's like becomes a heist movie, and they got the freaking bank their thing that they're pulling around, and like is like I said, I don't know that he can carry a movie, but he definitely spices it up, which I think is awesome. And I think he's the best looking, let's be honest, of the list. I mean, he's fucking...
He's definitely buff.
Yes.
Oh, I got a quick joke for you, too. So, if you were to slap Dwayne Johnson on the butt, would you then say that you have hit rock bottom?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's from
So let's look at his movies. So I'm only gonna count the movies actually. Okay, The Mummy, 55%. The Mummy Returns, 47%. The Scorpion King, 41%. The Rundown. So this was his like kind of breakout role where he was actually like the star, other than the Scorpion King. 71%, good. Walking Tall, whoa, way bad. Be Cool. Doom, 19%. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Yeah.
That was horrible. Gridiron Gang, you know, that was, you can watch it on cable if you want. The Game Plan. So, and then so that's not really a movie. That's not really a movie. Get Smart. He was in that with Steve Carell, which made a ton of money. So here's the thing about Vin Diesel and The Rock, I think. They just make money. We talked about Tom Cruise too. They just make money. Tom Hardy is less well known, but these guys make bucks. I mean, we'll look at the list. Faster, which I liked. The Tooth Fairy, 18%. And then all of a sudden, like, look here. All of a sudden he was in The Other Guys. He was in it for like 5 minutes at the beginning. And then he was in Fast 5. And then he was in another shitty movie, Journey 2, with Josh Hutcherson. And then he's in Fast and Furious 6. Good. Then he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation, also a bad movie. Guess what? Channing Tatum was in that movie. He skipped out of the second one. Remember after 21 Jump Street, he stopped doing the G.I. Joes, and ever since he's been in good movies, he's another one. Snitch, Pain and Gain, all mediocre, Hercules. But I mean, he's definitely gotten better in terms of his movie selections. I really wish there was a top box office, or like a total box office, but you could tell. I mean, there's lots of $100 million in here. 100, 200, 100, 200, 100, 340. Like, I mean, he just brings in the bucks. Okay. Next. So now we're 3 of 4. Last one. Who's your fifth favorite action star?
Bruce Lee.
Really? How many movies have you seen with Bruce Lee?
I don't know, like one or something.
He's old school. He definitely had a short time.
Yeah, I just really...
You just need to throw like an actual fighter in there that could actually literally kick someone's butt.
Yeah, I mean, he's legendary, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive, his physical skill and everything. Like, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't vouch for his acting or anything, but, like, you know, he was there, and I think he really he impacted the industry.
Mm. See, like, I did a current one, because if I did, like, an all-time one, I would have had Schwarzenegger, I would have had Bruce Willis, like, I would have had these other guys who are kind of washed up now. Stallone, I mean, come on, he was fucking Rocky. Like,
yeah.
My final one, Daniel Craig.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about putting...
Do you know why?
Because he's 007.
Good. He is 007. Yeah. He is the first actor. I don't care what anybody says, Sean Connery, whatever. He's the first legit actor to play James Bond. He's the first actor to be in James Bond and also be in other great movies that don't suck, and he's convincing in them. He's the first James Bond not to just be this chauvinistic pig, whatever, play the whole gimmick thing. And he actually kicks ass. He's actually buff. He actually started off a whole movie with a run chase scene that lasted 15 minutes in Casino Royale, which is like one of the best chase scenes of all time. He is a legit actor. And I get in this argument with my dad because he loves 007. Oh, Sean Connery, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Daniel Craig is an actor. He's legit. He's good. He's good in other roles. That's the whole issue with James Bond. People don't want to be James Bond because they feel like they're going to be stuck in that role. Like Idris Elba, the black dude from Prometheus or Thor. He wants to be the next James Bond. And like people are like, well, then people are going to say that, oh, all he could do is play James Bond. But I think the whole new James Bond line, starting with Daniel Craig and next Idris Elba, if that's who it ends up being, is all about kind of emulating or copying the Bourne identity. That kind of fast cut, handheld action versus just the kind of like suave, oh, I'm about to get killed by a laser, but I'm somehow going to get out. Like the very camp, it was like so much camp.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know if they were like necessarily trying to copy the Bourne identity, but they definitely did reinvent 007.
Yes, with Daniel Craig. He was the first one, and it became like an action movie versus just kind of like a... Because 007 is a brand. I mean, he drinks only certain types of champagne, and he's whatever. He drives a certain car, and it's very much a branded movie. Like it's 100% branded. So they got to kind of keep with the theme of the character, but then give him dimension. I mean, I remember the best James Bond moment for me ever was in the latest one, where he's being interrogated, and then the guy says, "Tell me about Skyfall," and he's like, "I just got tingles saying it right now." Because that was about his parents and like his mother and like where he used to live when he grew up, and the next movie is going to be more on that, about like how he's trying to escape a past and stuff, and like how pictures are scribbled out. I don't know if you've seen the trailer or whatever, but yeah. I don't know if there's a trailer, but just like a pictures or whatever. Yeah, so I like, not to get off topic with 007, but I think Daniel Craig is an action star. I think he's capable of actually physically doing the things, and he's not just a guy in a suit with a gun.
Yeah.
Done. Mic drop. So we were 3 for 5. You picked 2 people who I feel like one's dead and one's washed up. So like, if you really feel like even today, like Bruce Lee stands up, that's cool. I think a lot of people would agree with you. I try to pick mine like current. Like who am I going to go spend $12 to go see right now?
So I kind of had a different take on it. Like I didn't want to necessarily pick all current things. I didn't want to be like, oh, you're like this hip and new action star.
Basically, the topic comes up because San Andreas is coming out, and Mad Max just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to, like, who are we going to go pay to see? If one of these 5 guys is making a movie, I'm paying to see that movie. That's cool. 3 for 5. So we talked about, so what are like your key, as you look at your list, what are your key elements to what makes a great action star?
Well, I think one thing is I can't hate them. Like, sometimes I have characters in certain works of, whatever media, where they're just too cool. Like, they just kick so much ass. It's like, it makes me almost want to, it makes me want to hate on them. I was like, dude, this is just dumb to me, right? But then, like, when they can pull it off, when it seems like this person should be this cool, then I'm like, yeah, this person's cool.
I watched Ender's Game the other day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So I get the story. I get the story that it's like a book and all this stuff, and the kids are like super smart and able to do this stuff. But the fact that like all of a sudden he's super good at shooting people and like what?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like when they're too good, like they're not when I don't believe that they should be that good. That's when
you were telling me the other day about a movie where you hated when I think that was you. Like all of a sudden some guy just started kicking a bunch of ass and you were like, ugh. I'm trying to remember.
Oh.
Well, think about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I put on here as one of my points, physicality, looks, and also ability to kick ass. All the guys on my list, I would not want to walk into a dark alley and see them like in front of me. That doesn't mean they're all like The Rock and super buff Hulk, like they call them in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
But, I mean, dude, Tom Hardy, I don't know if you've seen him in the movie Warrior. Him and, is it Joel Edgerton, that guy? well, they're brothers or whatever, and they end up fighting MMA for the championship.
Oh, yeah,
and like his brother's like a really good tap out guy, but Tom Hardy's like super buff and like strong and like a bull. Dude, like you see him in that movie, like you can't like you see him in Bane, he's pretty buff.
Yeah.
But he's got like a thing. But in that movie, you could tell like he could mess somebody up. In all of his other movies, he's kind of like not really exposed like that, so you can't really tell. Unlike The Rock, who's like basically guns out, sun's out, guns out all the time.
Yep.
Tom Cruise is probably the only one on my list who's like, I mean, he's like 5'8", might be able to take him in a fight, you know, but like he's the only one who I would say. But he does do his own stunts, like unlike anybody else on this list, fully. I mean, fully. He does crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. Did you just do that on camera right now?
Do what?
Oh my goodness, we're gonna have to cut away from that. Wow. Obviously my last point, stunts. So Bruce Lee obviously did all of his own stuff. We know when he was popular, Jackie Chan did all of his own stunts, probably hurt himself a lot. There's a reason actors aren't allowed to do their own stunts. It's because, I mean, look, Harrison Ford just sprained his ankle and they had to shut down production of Star Wars for like 6 weeks. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens when someone wants to do their own stunt. I'm sure he wasn't really doing a stunt. He's probably just walking down the hallway. He's pretty old. But, you know, like Tom Cruise says he wants to hang off an airplane. But guess what? If he falls down and, you know, breaks his leg, he's not going to be able to do anything for 3 months. So that's why, and obviously, huge insurance risk. But I admire the ones who try to do it and pull it off.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
So, go ahead and with your last point on this, and then I have a very interesting point to make.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say for me, like, their physical state and their ability to do stunts themselves doesn't really matter that much to me. Like, I'd be fine if they can't do it, but it really does help me with my perception of them, you know, and like what I was saying before, me not hating on them, like, you know, if they can actually kick butt and do their own stunts, then it really adds to the credibility. Mm-hmm. So even though I might say, oh, I don't really care about that, it does affect me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were basically talking about realism for the last minute. Jesus. Okay. What are we missing on our list? Are we sexist? What's missing from our top 5 list?
Hey, I almost.
And this isn't our fault. But why are we missing females?
I don't know. Well, because they're not. I don't know. They're not really relied on for roles like that.
So do you think we're going to start seeing a trend?
I honestly, I do think so. Like, I think we're on this cusp of really.
Obviously, they're remaking Ghostbusters, and they're gonna have an all-female cast, and like they're starting to do reboots. But when are they gonna actually have solid movies, original scripts that they say we don't even need to use the guy for this? Let's use a girl. It's gonna bring in a different audience. She's gonna be able to do different stuff. When are we gonna start seeing stuff like that?
I feel like it's gonna be soon. Like, I don't like. This is just my personal feeling, and it's kind of messed up to say this, but I think it's becoming more hip, and more like popular, and more like interesting, more like relevant to people to have things that are like, oh, this is multicultural, or oh,
guess what?
Like it's more accepted.
Guess what?
You know?
The producers of movies, a lot of them are girls. None of the producers are. I wouldn't say none, but producers aren't just sexist. All producers care about. So if people are willing to give, I'm making a sign for money. If people are willing to pay money to go see Emily Blunt in a starring, action role, which she's actually, I don't know if it's an action role, but she's like the lead in a cop movie where she's like an investigator. So I'm guessing there's going to be some action. Obviously, what's her name from Game of Thrones is going to be in the new Terminator.
Oh yeah.
So I have a point. I have Linda Hamilton up on here. She was obviously in Terminator 2. I don't know if you remember the difference between her and Terminator 1. Let me literally, I'm going to literally Google.
Literally. Dang, that is heavy. That is deep. We're currently Googling Linda Hamilton.
Terminator 1 versus 2. I'm going to look for a picture.
Didn't she get like buff or something?
Yes. So.
Yeah, like she looked like she could kick ass.
Like,
cool.
I don't know. They don't really have like one showing her guns, but I mean, look at this. Like, she was freaking ripped Like, this is her before, and then like she like embraced the role. I feel like the girl from Game of Thrones really like just looks the same. Not trying to be whatever, but if I like Emily Blunt, like when she was in, like she had never done an action movie before Edge of Tomorrow. She got ripped for that. Like she looked freaking toned for that movie. Like if a female's gonna do a thing, once again, it has to be believable. All these action stars on our list, guess what? They're all super buff already, and they're all like we're used to them being athletic and being able to do stuff. If we want to believe that a female is going to be able to do those same things, or even smarter ways to do those things, or different ways, they have to be in shape. They can't just be what they usually look like. Sexist or not, but I think Linda Hamilton did it. I think Emily Blunt did it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's also a little bit harder too because just due to the way like our culture and stuff is, we're naturally predisposed to kind of view
them as a sex symbol.
Really, well, yeah, that too. But I mean, not really. You don't really think a girl goes out and shoots things or kicks people's asses.
I mean. But like, so then they just pitch it as like, oh, this girl's special. She's different. She was raised a certain way. Skyfall. She was raised a certain way. It could be done. Just people got to be willing to pay for it. And producers are going to start making movies if people pay for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying they have a larger hurdle to pass over into being believable as opposed to like some dude.
That's the thing. Like when you said that it's hip, that it is hip, equality's hip, it's true. And I'm totally down for it, but it can't make the movie worse. It can't like be a crutch. It can't, it has to be believable. It has to. I want the girls to get in shape for the roles. I want them to be buff. I want them to seem like they could actually kick someone's butt. Because right now, basically all the lead women's roles are like, oh, they're just smarter. They outthink you, whatever. I don't know. If we're gonna see women kicking ass, then they literally need to be able to look like they can kick ass. And maybe they use a lot, whatever, different fighting style, or whatever, Obviously, I mean, can you even name 5 female action stars of all time that like deserve to be on the list? Just off the top of your head? Even by character name? And we got one on screen right now.
Yeah, she is pretty cool, Linda Hamilton. I thought, Beatrix Kiddo and Lucy Liu in Kill Bill were pretty cool.
You mean Uma Thurman?
Yeah.
I mean, are they really action stars though? Those are the only. I guess she did Charlie's Angels, but I mean, really, they didn't really do many other action roles.
Yeah, but I mean, what is Linda? I don't know what other movies Linda Hamilton's been in, but I mean, what I really know her from Terminator, and I think she kicks ass because of that.
Okay, so fine. So Lucy Liu, Uma Thurman, Linda Hamilton. You missing Sigourney Weaver, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Killed a bunch of aliens. Okay, can we get a 5th one, maybe? See how hard this is, though? I mean, like, we had to scratch and claw to get only 5 male action stars, and, like, we're scratching and clawing just to get 5 female. And we can really only say that they've been in one action movie each.
Yeah.
So, who's your 5th?
I don't know. Well, okay, if I want to cheat, what about Death Proof? Uma Thurman's stunt actor who was starring a role in that movie.
I saw her in person.
Oh, yeah?
She was Xena, the warrior princess, is a stub double. I wish I knew her name off the top of my head, but we're not going to use her because she's not really an actress. Yeah, I mean, God, I can't even think of one. I mean, that's how bad this is. We need more.
Emily Blunt?
No, but I mean, she's been in one action movie. I'm not going to... It's cheating. I guess I could use her, but it's cheating. But yeah, so I guess the consensus with us is that we would pay to go see female action stars. It just has to be believable. And we don't want to take shortcuts just to have a female star. Because guess what? The movies are not going to make as much money at first. It's not till it becomes like a regular thing and we stop, 50 years from now, stop thinking about the way we think now, and it'll become the norm, and then it'll be equal. And like people will go see Tom Cruise Sr. just as much as they'll go see Emily Blunt. So, done. I think that's it.
All right.
That was an interesting episode. Hopefully we talked about some interesting stuff. Nice.
Thank you.
We're all sick. So if you have any questions, send them to me on Twitter at FilmIn5D. Leave a comment below on the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube. Like it, obviously. Oh, rate, comment, and subscribe on iTunes at FilmIn5D. Search FilmIn5D. Are we going to change the name of the show?
I thought so eventually.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Check out the blog, WordPress.com. Filmin5d.wordpress.com. Check it out. Got a new blog. I almost released, remember The Theory of Everything? You enjoy that movie?
Yeah.
So I'll have to show you the trailer I made because YouTube wouldn't let me upload it. I made a 5-minute trailer and I tried to upload it twice and I got 2 strikes against my account. And I wasn't going to try a third time. And guess what? I was uploading as private. Like I wasn't even ready. It was scheduled to release on Monday and I was like doing it over the weekend. And I couldn't even upload it because they were saying visual content every time. It's like the movie company didn't even have a chance to see the movie yet. I guess they just totally blocked anybody from uploading anything about that movie. Which is crazy. Like I made what I think is a good trailer and then more people will watch that trailer and it has no spoilers. People will watch the trailer and they'll say, I want to go see that movie now. Let me go rent it at Redbox or whatever. Their loss. I mean, if they don't want me to upload that stuff, their loss. What can I say? That's the first time I ever got a flag against the account, so that made me really mad. Consider I didn't even get an option. It's like, I tried to delete the videos afterward, and they're like, deleting the videos will not remove any flags. Would you wish to proceed? Yeah, I got to remove them anyways. You blocked them, and so, whatever. All right, that's it. We'll see you next week. Bye. Hey everyone, welcome to the Film5D. Wait.
I'm Steve Jobs.
Okay.